Hello again, Brandon here, and in this video I want to talk about Cryptic versus Krypton versus Clown, and kind of why I'm leaning towards pushing a lot of my projects towards Krypton. So if you're not familiar, a Krypton is a allelic het between a het clown and a het cryptic. So basically by having that double het, you have a visual animal. That animal almost looks like puzzle light. Like it's got a little bit of the aberrancy, it has really good blacks, it has the same kind of golden brown, kind of alien head color that a normal ball python has, but it also has some connections within the saddles, typically some striping along the neckline, and a couple other things like that that give it a bit different of a look, but it's not as extreme as Clown. And for me, I think that's one of the biggest benefits of the Krypton. Let me back up a little bit. When you are comparing a cryptic to a Krypton, they look very similar. However, you're limited because you're basically only going to be producing Kryptons or cryptics if you're doing those breedings. Now, one of the benefits of the Krypton is that you are having both a het clown and a het cryptic. So at the end of the day, you're potentially producing both Kryptons and clowns if you do the pairings the right way. And that way you're broadening your market base, you're broadening the number of people that would be potentially interested in your projects. And if you are trying to push towards Krypton in your projects, you could have the clown animals to sell and then make other people happy and then hold back those Kryptons with the genes, which is kind of one thing that's a little bit limiting with the cryptic Krypton thing, is that there really isn't a lot that has been done with those genetics. So you kind of have to start things up for yourself, which is a video that I have coming up in the future, kind of like a DIY situation, and why I personally prefer that route. But that's not what this video is. Now, why I personally am more interested or liking Krypton stuff more is, again, the versatility of being able to produce both the Kryptons and clowns. But also with the Krypton, you are getting a normal ball python color base, which is a blackish base color, along with those golden kind of, I don't know, brownish gold saddles and alien heads. And those age just like a normal ball python would age. You're going to have the same creams, you're going to have the same blacks, versus say how like a regular clown ages. A regular clown has a lot of straw colors within its entire body. So you end up losing that black that like a baby clown has, and then it almost washes out and you lose a lot of the contrast. So I think by having a Krypton, you're going to be able to maintain that color into adulthood, and it's not going to like wash out or lose a little bit of that contrast. So I think that there's a huge amount of opportunity there, because I think that whenever you mix certain things into clown, it gets lost because of that overall kind of brown straw colored color base. And also the clown pattern can be a bit strong and a little bit reducing. Like I am a huge fan of the Hurricane project, right? And so it's like if you're putting Hurricane into clown, you don't get the same benefits, that you don't get the same, I guess, like full expression of Hurricane. You don't get the biceps, you don't get all of the swirls, you don't get all of those things. And I think that if you're mixing that into Krypton, you would get a lot more variation and you'd get a lot more expression with some of those genes. And another thing that's really interesting about Krypton is that it works really well with pastel, and that's one thing that pastel gets a lot of hate on, is that, basically with how it reacts to clown, because clown is so, dominating within the hobby, that if it basically by pastel being in clown, it kind of limits the interest. And you can argue and say, oh, well, DG in there makes it look good. Yeah, but if you could buy a DG clown thing without pastel or with pastel, you would likely opt for the one without pastel. Now, with Krypton, the pastel really enhances those yellows and those different kind of golden colors, as well as maintains really deep dark blacks. So I think that you get a lot of benefit, not benefit necessarily, but you get a lot more options whenever you're putting pastel into the Crypton. It's not going to be nearly as limiting, and I don't think you're going to get nearly as much hate. Now, there are, a bunch of different examples of different projects, most of which I've taken from Morph Market. A couple I've taken from some of Justin's videos, because Justin has done a lot of work with the Crypton stuff that I think a lot of people really aren't doing. And I think it's only a matter of time before Crypton starts making a little bit more headway over clown, because you're getting a lot more variability within the pattern, and it's not going to look like the same old snake that's just been tweaked just a little bit. Now there are a couple genes that I think are a must-have within the Crypton, and one of those is spot nose. So I think by having spot nose in a lot of these projects, you are getting a clown body pattern without necessarily the clown head pattern, but you're getting all of the same benefits without the negative impact of the clown color into adulthood. And I think that some of the best combinations with Crypton are done with spot nose. It really enhances the pattern more, and it just gives it a lot more pop. Now, some animals that Justin produced and he showed in the video a while back, they looked absolutely crazy, and they were ones with Crypton. They were a Crypton spot nose confusion, and then in the same light, if you look at that animal and compare it with a confusion clown, it looks great, but I feel like you get that straw color that kind of darkens up the base a little bit more, so you're not going to end up having as much contrast. And one of, I think, the biggest comparisons that could be made is that Justin has also made a Crypton Pompeii, and if you compare that with a regular Pompeii, in my personal opinion, and again, all of these things are just personal ideas, personal thoughts, whatever, so if you have a disagreement or whatever, that's fine. I mean, that's your take, that's your preference on look. But I think that the Crypton Pompeii looks better than the regular Pompeii, because you're not getting the effects of a clown colored ball python, with those genes. So you're able to maintain a lot more of those reds. You're able to maintain that deeper black. You're able to maintain a lot of different things with the Crypton over the clown. So I think that that is a very interesting comparison. And then when you start mixing other things into it, you just open yourself up for a lot more variety and variability, like putting hurricane, putting like acid confusion, putting, different like darkening genes in there. You're going to end up with much richer blacks that are going to stay darker as the animal ages. And overall, I think a much more contrasty look. And your ability to be able to layer stuff is going to be different, because the Crypton isn't as overpowering as, say, like a clown is. So you're going to kind of have a little bit more variability. At least, that's the way that I look at it. So going forward, I'm going to be getting Crypton or Cryptic into my clown projects to make them Cryptons. And that's not going to be for every single one. There's definitely projects that I'm already quite far along on as far as like clown stuff. But if I'm able to find a Cryptic that carries the genes for those things in clown, I wouldn't even hesitate to put it in there. Like a pairing that I'm super, super excited for this year is my black pastel yellow belly red stripe het clown male that I am breeding to my Orange Dream Ultramel pinstripe Krypton, because I think like even pinstripe Cryptics or pinstripe Kryptons, they look really cool. You get a lot more variability within that mutation, and I think having all of those other genetics mixed into a Ultramel version would look really cool. So that's something I'm definitely looking forward to. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the Crypton, Cryptic, clown. What's your favorite? What direction you think is best for your collection? And do you think that any of these thoughts have legs? Do you think that there is a possibility, or at least an opportunity, for Krypton to make some sort of an impact. Thanks for taking your time to watch this video, and we will see you in the next one.